Let's understand two things about breakups that perhaps will help you to have a different perspective of what you have and to accelerate healing and forgiveness and more sense of openness to what is your next lesson. We need to see that when we are manifesting or wanting to learn something, especially to enrich our attribute of love and wisdom and life, we need a feedback. So the relationship can be a love relationship, but as parents, as professionals, as communities, all those brings a feedback for you, a learning process for you in your particular attribute. And when you are able to partner or distinguish and have that incredible force of attraction, and you start them having the relationship and experimenting, and what you want in there is to be loved, to be recognized, and to be seen. And we start requesting that in our own frequency, in our own ways. And we demand on the other, can you see me? Can you appreciate me? Can you love me? Can you demonstrate to me? And of course, the more the other may do it, the more we want it. The ego wants more. It's a kind of a grasping possession on the other. That if you don't get what you want, then you create a reaction, and that reaction start having two ways. Is the reaction of saying, oh, is something wrong with me because the other person don't love me, see me, and acknowledge me? Or is the other person who is bad, is not complete, is you start blaming the other. So in that perspective, in that way of connecting, of course, is going to be negativity. And in that negativity, the more you blame the other or the more you blame yourself, you tap into a field of negativity that it can be subconscious in your cells, coming from your ancestors or coming from the circle that you are interacting, or even from the land that you live. There is pain that matches that negativity. Then naturally you get sucked into that field of pain and negativity, and you create more, you feed it by not seeing that the other cannot rescue you and that is nothing wrong with you. It's a way to avoid certain maturity and certain responsibility in front of the lesson. So when you distinguish that you are reacting, and that the reaction can escalate even to a physical violence, because it becomes more and more aggressive, and it can be put it in outside, either when you're driving or you go to the post office and you see that long line with the COVID thing, and you go, so you start blaming, this is not fair, this is not the time, and you start giving meaning. So all that sensation of negativity start projecting outside in any relation. And it's in that moment where the actual breakup happens, because you are not connecting, you are not seeing the other or your daily life or yourself from the point of view of the present, from the now, from the is. So you start feeling even more pain, feeling lonely, disconnected, not able to have conversations that feed your your soul, you start disconnecting from your own passion. So you need to see that in all creation there is always a feedback, and how you connect with the feedback in any form, abstract or subject, you have a choice of seeing it that, I am creating this interaction in order for me to learn something, to specifically to mature my attribute of love, wisdom, and expression. Those are the three things really that it comes to the bottom of all your responsibility and irresponsibility. So naturally you need to understand and ask yourself that, did the relationship finish because I was reactive, and to what I was reacting? And the moment you have that clarity, you are allowing your cellular intelligence to relax and to make some changes in the very profound micro aspect of your cells. Because understand, when you are blaming the other and blaming yourself, you are not really in your body, you are in the pain field. And from that you cannot see you cannot connect, you cannot love, you cannot receive. So by saying, okay, I was reactive and I did my best because I didn't know any better. And to see that part of your maturity is to have a tantrum. And from that tantrum at the emotional level, you are really, really learning to disengage from the pain field, as well as taking more strength in your own individuality. I am here, this is me, there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with the world. It is what it is, and what it is teaching me, is the feedback of life. So in that moment, you start looking that, oh, maybe my ancestors were having the same approach of blaming and navigating in the pain field, and maybe this land and have history about that. And you start slowly detaching or not wanting to react. And in that moment, naturally you detach from those vibrations. Naturally you will create opportunities and meet people and have the synchronicities around you that it will put you in the frequency of respond ability, where you are not operating from the pain field. So that's the first thing, and say, okay, this relationship finished because I was reactive. I know it's not pretty to accept, and we don't like to accept that. We prefer to say, oh, it's the other, it was the other, he was, she was. But it won't lead you to anything. It doesn't really take you to the healing place and the peace place that you do want. The second aspect is consider that the breakup was necessary, that you had, or you guys have made a contract, an agreement for a period of time, and that may challenge your belief system about Disney World that say, okay, you have to meet your prince and be with it and be happy ever after. That life is not really one that for you. Life is much more dynamic and is much more tribal in contact things. It's okay, who can serve me to learn anything about myself? And in that moment you are creating relationships that can be very agile and not very lasting, but it had complete the purpose for you to see something important. So it's nothing that you need to correct on yourself, or that you need to blame that, oh, I am missing something in this relationship, I need to be different. Then you start contorting yourself and not being yourself, and of course that will cause hiding, to hide from the real you, from the real possibility of connection. So it's something that is natural. Is natural, especially in early ages, when you have a lot of boyfriends and girlfriends and you investigate this and there, but we do it without consciousness. We think it's just, okay, I am just looking for somebody, but it's not the case. What it did happen is that you needed to complete cycles of maturity by having feedback of the opposite sex or same sex. It does what your preference, it doesn't matter. So it's when we understand that, and any of the two ways of breakups, you really, in one you need to take the responsibility, and in the other one you need not to blame yourself, not to feel guilty, and see that, yeah, it did happen, and now is the time for me to bring that understanding into my healing. So in here is and I'm referring for healing for, I understand that some of you, they may have very difficult breakups, some violence, and all the reactive part, you can put it on your partner and vice versa, and that can be very destructive, very hurtful, very painful. And the way to heal is going back into the body, going back into the cells that have disrupted the natural memory of the intelligence, the everlasting intelligence of nature that heals, that restore. So in order to restore, you need to slow down, you need to meditate, you need to go for massage, you need to take care of the time where you are not in the production part, but you are more in the receptive mode, and that way all the cells of the body can purify and relax, and in that relaxation, poof, the natural restoration, the memory that is everywhere in nature can start being activated. So and the healing is not about the other, is not to try to behave in a certain way in front of the other or have outcomes with the other. It really is about, number one, understanding how the breakup happened, why it happened, and that you are okay. You are not bad because it was a breakup. Don't blame yourself. And the third part is allow the process of healing. And even if you have broke up 20 years ago, when you start blaming or reacting, you still need that space now, because as I say, the 20 years ago is happening right now. It's just the cells that are not being completely plump in the life force of creation. So is cooperate with nature to relax and to be more in the present, be more you, be in a state of forgiveness. That is the real forgiveness, when number one, you understand, number two, you take action and not sabotaging your nature that is pure, that is good, that is lovable, and that nobody can replace that inside. They can reflect it, but they cannot replace the vastness and immensity of what you are.